everything's falling apart. I'm going to be $50,000 in debt. I'm going to work a job I absolutely hate. I hit rock bottom. It sucked. I didn't even celebrate my birthday. I lost all of my friends. I didn't eat some days to save money. That got me into the real world. I sent like 15 cold emails a day for like 6 months straight. That was like the most miserable experience of my life. My mindset towards business was I will do anything it takes to get me money. This tells you how hard it really is. If anyone here is listening, it's gonna take years for you to get good at this. Be prepared for that. We're all sold on the idea of sexy exponential growth, that it's gonna be fun and easy. It was not. I made a promise to myself a few months ago that I wouldn't give up, because 25-year-old me would be looking back on 17-year-old me and being like, wow, he really put in the work just for me to have this good life.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Ryan Lay podcast. This is episode number 5, and today I have an exciting show lined up for everyone. It's the man with a plan. He is the GOAT of personal funneling. He is the most dedicated creator on X and has been around for over 400 days. While most quit, Anthony has prevailed while documenting the entire journey of his personal brand on X for the entire world to see. The father of funneling is one of the most fascinating, hilarious, intelligent, and kind hearted human beings I've ever met online. Anthony Wu, welcome to the podcast, my brother.
Yeah. What's up, Ryan? We've actually talked a lot before, and glad I could make you laugh over the course before, but yeah, this is my first time appearing on an official podcast, and I'm really glad to be here. And maybe we'll get the audience to have a good laugh as well throughout the call.
I'm sure, but with you on the call, I'm 100% confident that we're gonna be laughing. Yeah, I appreciate you for coming on the show, dude. I hope that we can have some fun conversations. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and dive right into the questions. Anthony, you've been around longer than most creators on Money X. Walk
Yeah.
me through your origin story and what brought you here. What inspired you to build a personal brand and build a business online?
Yeah, okay. So like this goes back all the way to like the prehistoric period when, dinosaurs were still roaming the earth and we had
Right.
like giant lizards across. So that was May 2023. So, back then, like the Sean Canella and Ben Chan, all of the people you look up to, I think even Audrey Lowe weren't even on X, which is very surprising. But
Wow, that's
yeah, I
incredible.
started before everyone was on X, and it was May 2023, right? And that sort of was like I was doing a copywriting agency from the real world, from like Tate's
Mhm.
course, right? And I wanted to go on social media and just find prospects through there. So I started my X account and just used it, I guess, initially as a way to market my agency. But I didn't want to be too salesy. So instead of marketing my agency, I started posting platitudes into like the void, and that behavior went on for like 2 or 3 months. And then I was like engaging with personal branders for some reason. And that didn't go very well. So it's like it went like that cycle for like 6 months. And I literally hit rock bottom at December 2023. I was like, it was my birthday, right? So my birthday's on December 26th. And then, yeah, I know, one day after Christmas. But like, I didn't even go outside my room to celebrate. I was on my birthday. I was watching the real world clips and just looking at my tweets with like 2 likes, and I was just like, bro, this is messed up. I was like, I am in so much deep crap, and it was just like it was terrible. So I went back, reflected. Oh yeah, do I really want to do X? Is this really what I wanted? Your typical anime protagonist crap. And then I was like, okay, this is what I wanted. I'm gonna work hard. Like, there's really no other alternative, because like I saw university as like, okay, if I go uni and take a normal job, I'm going to be $50,000 in debt. I'm gonna like work a job I like absolutely hate just for a little bit of money, and that ironically makes me more desperate towards money. And that's my whole like thing. And then that continued, even though like I was engaging more, I still did not know how X works because I never had a mentor, right? Until May 2024. So that's when, so it took me like a whole year. And then on month, I think 14, so that's June or July-ish, I started pumping on my engagements way more. trying to sound like, I guess, a human and just asking questions like that was the first evolution of my strategy. And then like I was hopping in DMs and just asking people how like their day was. And the for my first DM like messages were literally copied off this one guy connecting with me, and I copied the guy's DM message and changed it slightly, and then like suddenly like everyone was like, "Wow, oh yeah, etc. Your content's like getting better and better." So I went from like 100 followers, which took me 14 months, to like 200 in like a single month. And then after that, I like hopped on a call with Sun Chen, like that guy, and I paid him $1 to review my profile because that's literally all the money I had at the time. So my entire life savings gone. And then
Wow.
he went over my messaging, all of that stuff, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's all a positioning game. It's all like this. You need to be unique, and you need to share more of your stories, and you need to do the three dot points meta that like everyone was doing." So I was like, okay, maybe he has a point because he's getting like 5 times the engagement I was. So did the $3 points, got like way more engagements. Like actually had people coming into my DMs and just asking me about it. Like when I was like at 250 ish, and then I launched my first giveaway. Like you can still access it, but I'm taking it down because it's like absolutely crap. But that was my first attempt at a lead magnet, and it actually went well. I got like I went from like 280 ish to like 320. So I blasted past 300, and then my growth stagnated for quite a while because I removed a bunch of bot followers, and then X like flagged my account.
Oof. Tough.
And it was at that time I like started talking with Ryan Lay, and then talking about like low ticket as a way to start actually doing work and just getting experience. So I was like stacking a bunch of testimonials back then and just really focused on helping people out. I did like 20 plus free calls with people. Like that was how much experience I wanted to get, etc., to actually deliver. So after that, like I landed a bunch of like mentorship deals, but they were like $20 mentorships. So I was basically working like the Fiverr freelancers, like
Yeah.
those guys. Yeah, yeah. I was basically a Fiverr freelancer, and then that brings me to now. I'm working on a bigger giveaway. So actually, that's a skip in time because I became the personal funneler. You know,
Hmm.
and that was my most genius like unique selling point because now everyone thinks I'm the personal funneler now. Like how I actually came up with that, I was like talking about it yesterday to a bunch of other people, but like it was like, okay, personal brands, they're like kind of dying, and most people suck at actually selling on like X. So I got that from like John Chan was like, yeah, you have a lot of insight into market research. I was like, okay, so funneler plus personal brand, I can't have it be a funnel brand because that just sounds weird. So personal funnel. And then I just stuck with it, made a bunch of Canva picks, and now all of my posts rely on me being the personal funneler. And it's actually worked out really well. So I finally understood what a unique selling point really was. So that brings me to today, I guess. I'm working on my new giveaway. It's going to be a really long giveaway. It's going to have video lessons at the bottom with like full on Asian style exam quizzes based on the content.
Heck yeah.
And it's going to be 6 modules.
Nice, man. Wow, what a origin story. My goodness. Like that's like a whole podcast worth of detail we could dig into. But that's absolutely amazing, man. Just hearing your journey because we haven't talked about like your earlier time, and I
Yeah.
had no idea that you went through kind of like those really tough times, especially like on your birthday, on the day after Christmas, staring at your 2 likes on your posts. Yeah, that's tough, man. But I want to go all the way back to the beginning and ask you about the agency. So,
Yeah.
what was kind of your mindset as far as business in general went, right? Because you started the agency and then wanted to drive traffic to it through X. So, like, what got you hooked onto business in general, and especially like with the agency model?
Okay, so this goes before the prehistoric time. This is like the Cambrian times when like life first evolved from the aquatic oceans and moved onto land. But it was something along the lines of I made my first business when I was like 8 or 9. So that was when I was on the school computers, and I bought my parents at the book fair bought me a book on like the coding like software called Scratch, right?
Uh
And
huh.
everyone used that to make like terrible Roblox games or whatever. And that was like I was like, oh my god, it's like I could make this guy say like hello with like these blocks, and I could make like a racing car game with this. And I was like, okay, that was like, that's so amazing. I went on school computers, like, was speed running all of my maths work, and the teacher got like really pissed because I was doing the work so fast, so I could get on the computers. And she thought I was playing Minecraft. No, I went on Scratch and was like making crappy games. And then I was like, you know what? I think I'm sort of like a notch myself. I could make a Minecraft myself, right? And then that went on to like year six. So when I was like 11, I made my first Steam title, and that was a tower defense game because I was moving on to the big boy like software like Unity engine with my friends. And that was like my first entrepreneurial venture, even though I team carried because my friends did like jack crap. All they did was play the game. And like, to be honest, I could get anyone to do that. And it was like the graphics were terrible. Endless Defense 1. That was like for a competition. And then Endless Defense 2 was like for Steam. And you don't want to look at it. Please don't check it out. It's quite embarrassing. But after that, I most of my business was basically game development. I worked with like a Roblox studio and developed two games with like one of my friends, and I was just mainly like a community manager. The IRL Discord mod, and banning people who posted memes in general. That was like when I was 13. I also started a YouTube channel, and that got like 20,000 views on one of the videos. But it was like a gaming YouTube channel. I was also like a gaming spurg back then. So
Same.
continuing on to like when I was 14, so that's when my mindset towards business like sort of shifted from like, oh yeah, funny game, and if I upload it, I'll get 2 million like views because it's like unique, etc. So unique and original. So I made my first FPS shooter, and that one, like, it really showed me how hard marketing a game really was. And like it really did, because I was like, okay, I made like an FPS shooter that like was really sci-fi and cool, and had like enemy bots like firing at each other, and it was like it had this all like sci-fi theme. And why aren't people buying it? And then people like, and I was like, okay, like, surely League of Legends or those games are doing something that we aren't. And we're like talking to each other, like my friend who's been like with me for like, he's like the only like friend I did have in like high school. And then he was like, okay, maybe like you got to actually market the game. I was like, oh crap. So fast forward to 14, like 14/15. So I was in year 10. So I was working 12-hour days. So I've never actually like, thought Twitter was like really that hard, because compared to 14, like 10 to 14-hour work days, like X is like really easy, to be honest. And like I worked on my next and final Steam title, because I actually quit after game development after this one flopped. And it was called Cubelander. And that was like the hardest I've ever grinded on a game ever. And I'm still looking back on it, I was like, I'm actually quite proud of that game. And because it really put together all of my skills. I actually had a Twitter account, an X account on I know, right? Back in 2021 to market the game, but I was like using hashtags and like, it's working on. No, I actually did the personal brand route with marketing my game, and actually got me some results. I was like, working on this cutscene in Cubelander, hashtag screenshot Friday. I mean, screenshot Saturday, hashtag game development Friday, or something like that. And that got me like a bunch of retweets, a bunch of likes, etc., etc., etc. But I no longer post. So I went off Twitter, and then like I watched this like video, how make money fast, right, on YouTube, and came across this guy who was like, oh yeah, you can make $100,000 a month via copywriting. I was like, okay, what is copywriting? I was like, is that where you take a bunch of DMCA claims on other people's videos and then and then take them down? I was like, okay, so you write and you market for businesses. I'm like, okay, this seems like interesting, with the power of words, like the HelloFresh ads that I've been constantly getting. Maybe, if I write them and make a bunch of money, like for businesses, that will work. So I'm like, okay, that might work. And then I joined the real world, because that was the closest thing I had, like, that I could afford for my money. And I had to argue like with my parents why it wasn't a scam, and all of that stuff. And I won't even dive into detail about like the countless arguments I had with my parents over business. But that got me into the real world. I did copywriting, and I sent like 15 cold emails a day for like 6 months straight. So that was like the most miserable experience of my life. in my opinion. It was worst in game development because in game development you were at least making progress every day, but copywriting was like terrible in terms of cold outreach. And my mindset towards business was literally like I will do anything it takes to get me money. And the fact that I'm sending 15 cold outreaches a day reinforces that I'm doing the hard work even when I don't feel like it. And that was the mindset I took onto X. Like, if you bash your head against the wall enough times, it'll eventually snap or eventually crumble. And then, there'll be a hole you can climb through to get to the other side. And with X, that was basically my mindset. But obviously, it's shifted now to more of a, I'm doing this and enjoying every single moment of it because I want to be free. And, it's going to suck some days. But ultimately, you need to be able to see yourself doing the business model for 5 to 10 years, even if you're not getting paid the most for it. Because with copywriting, like for, some random chiropractor helping them scale to 6 figures, the agency like completely fell through in the end because I wasn't fully into it. Like, my purpose wasn't aligned to it. But with X, I guess helping other people out and making huge impacts and being a leader is more of my thing to do. So yeah, that's my mindset.
Mm, yeah, absolutely, man. That's such a great answer. Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. Going all the way back to my childhood roots, let me tell you,
Yeah.
in elementary school, our school blocked. So we had Chromebooks, right? They
Yeah,
blocked
yeah.
all of the like cool math type websites
Coolmathsgames.com. Yeah.
besides Scratch, because Scratch was educational. And so, like after school, whenever we'd go on the computers to play games, it was always on Scratch. And let me tell you, Scratch was my childhood. Like all those games on there were amazing. Like, listen, I was not developing games like you were,
Yeah.
but I was playing those games, and man, Scratch was a lifesaver. It genuinely was. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love to hear your journey. I had no idea that you're like super into game design and like game development, but it's so cool how you started at like 8 or 9 years old and you just started like tinkering around with something that you were interested in with get video games, right? And then
Yeah.
you actually committed to it for like years until like you were 14 or 15 until you started transitioning into, the copywriting. And I think that just goes to show like why you're such a dedicated person, right? You've been dedicated to this X thing for 400 plus days.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason why you've been able to achieve that is because of the discipline and the consistency that you've shown throughout your life. So, with the video game development, right? You've put years into this, right? Just doing different kinds of projects. Even if the first one was really, really bad, even if like the Minecraft's copycat had like no substance on
Yeah.
Scratch, right? Like you still made progress and you developed up until like that final game that you published on Steam, and you said you were very proud of it. I'm sure like it's an amazing game. Like I need to go check it out. Like that's just so amazing to hear that kind of consistency, because a lot of people, including myself, struggle with shiny object syndrome, where we cannot stick to one thing for an extended period of time because the going gets tough, because this one thing that we're doing just gets boring, it gets hard, it's not working, we're not making enough money, it's not happening fast enough. All of these little problems that we run into when we're starting a business, it doesn't matter what model it is, it's going to be hard, it's going to have some kind of obstacle that you're going to have to break through. And a lot of people just decide to turn right around and go the opposite way and just ignore the problems and just go to another wall, and it's just like hitting a wall after wall after wall because we have shiny object syndrome. And it's like you don't have shiny object syndrome, it's just not something that's in your nature because you've just lived a life of just dedication, and I just admire that so much. So good on you, man.
Yeah. Look, I won't go into like significant detail about how I bred it out of myself, but it basically comes down to playing piano since I was 2 years old, like every single day and not missing a day, because Asian, whatever, etc. And like the last agency completely like fell through, and my friend gave up making money, like the friend I was talking about, and that really crushed me because I was like, okay, like everyone else has literally just quit on me. I've lost all of my friends. I've lost all of my money. I have literally nothing. I'm like bare and naked, and my X page isn't even growing, etc., etc., etc. And my game development business failed, and my everything, like everything's falling apart. Even though I have good marks at school, it's not enough. It doesn't make me feel like any better about myself. I wasn't doing any self improvement habits, etc. All of that stuff, and I was just crushed at the bottom. And when I hit rock bottom there, I was like, okay, like yeah, do I go back to game dev? Do I do this? Do I do like all of that? And I was just like, screw it. I'm gonna take the journey, even if it's like bloody hard, even if I'm the only person ever walking the journey, even if no one on X will like read my posts, I will keep posting and I will keep talking about my journey, or like platitudes at the time, but I'll keep talking about everything I'm going through. And I didn't know like that my story was actually like people were actually gonna listen to it, right? I didn't know that the 14 months of no progress was something good, because everyone was talking about the sexy speed runs and like the 2 days, 6 million followers in 3 days, and I got $2 million in 1 picosecond, all of that stuff, right? And yeah, that was really like, I guess, a turning point. And I always thought giving up just never to be the answer. Like even my friend was like, "Bro, this project's like gonna fail. Why are you even putting all of your effort into it?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? If it fails, I'll just learn the hard way and I'll just do better for my next one." And I think that's still the mindset I have now.
Mm, yeah, totally. Because you mentioned something about like the purpose you find within having a personal brand on X. And I wanted to ask you if like having that purpose of wanting to just help other people, it's fundamentally different than the agency model. And you're simply just like promoting mentorship and coaching specifically for one person. And that purpose aspect of helping and just providing value and changing lives, is that something that you think contributes to your consistency, to the reason why, despite how absolutely soul crushing it has been at times throughout these 400 days, has that contributed to your consistency at all? Like the idea of
Yeah,
just helping
definitely.
people?
Because like whenever I talk like to my clients, I see like 15-year-old me, staring, or like 16-year-old me staring at like the screen with zero followers, feeling absolutely crushed, right? I do see myself in a lot of these other people, and as much as I like to like shit on them for being terrible on X, it was where I was, and I do really sympathize with them. Like I don't, you don't usually see the side of me, but like I do feel like pretty bad for them, because once again, a lot of them were sold a lie that it'd be quick and easy money. But my 7 years in game development, and like also my short-lived career as a piano composer, just tells you how hard it really is. And look, if anyone here is listening on this, like it's gonna take years for you to get good at this. And my thousands of League of Legends games also proves that like to anything in life, if you want to be good at a certain champion, if you want to get good at game development, if you want to be like a man of substance or a woman of substance at anything, you just gotta not give up, and you just gotta keep grinding. And that is really what I, especially if you don't have a mentor. If you have a mentor, it's probably way easier. But like if you don't have one like I did, it was, yeah, it's just you really gotta convince yourself that it's the right path. And my purpose back then in game dev was make a beautiful project I myself am proud of and I myself would play. And I guess it's really shifted to help my younger self improve his life through X.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the perfect ICP, right? Your younger
Yeah.
self, the one that struggled and the one that has made progress from that point to a higher level. And so, whenever you actually aren't just helping some random dude on the street, you're helping someone that you know better than anyone else. You're just helping your past self. You're helping the young guy that was struggling with something, and from the position of someone that has overcome it. Like that's so powerful. Like that is the best ICP. And I feel like a lot of people overthink the idea of who should I target? Who should I write for? Who should I make content for? Do it for your past self. Do it for, the person that you've kind of grown from. And I think this tweet that you posted pretty recently kind of sums it all up. The whole journey from day one to day 400 plus. Zero was my best friend for 14 months. Zero students, zero comments, zero impressions. I wanted to quit. I didn't even have a mentor. Worst of all, I thought I was doing it right. So I'm not going to keep reading it, but yeah, I think the picture that you attached to your analytics kind of speaks volumes here. It was just a
Yeah.
zero, 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 and then peaks, 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 peaks. And I think it just illustrates the idea of first there is nothing for a very, very painfully long amount of time. And it's gonna suck, it's gonna be hard, but you still have to show up. But then there's everything, and now you're here. The personal funneler, landing paying clients. Despite the journey that you've been across these 14 months, you still made it even though you face arguably like the hardest path that any creator or that very few creators ever experience. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do think like I have probably had the roughest journey out of everyone I know on X. And look, it's not a brag or it's not like a humble brag, but it's more of a like, if you're not succeeding for 14 weeks and you quit, it's almost like a spit in my face because I didn't succeed for 14 months and I had no indication of the pop off, like when it would actually pop off, right? I had no indication of that. Every single day I was banking on hope that the next day would be the one I pop off. And when I started like picking up the followers, it almost felt unreal to me. And even so, like when I made my first $1 a few months ago, I was like, yeah, this is actually real, especially after my agency imploded and my I guess I don't like to talk about this, but my self-esteem hit a new low after my former agency clients were like, oh yeah, you're terrible at like copywriting, etc., etc., etc. And yeah, I do agree, I was terrible at copywriting, but it was because I was writing and working for people I wouldn't be friends with in real life. And I think
Mm,
that was like the main catalyst to me being a coach, because I was like, okay, if I'm a coach, then I'm going to be talking to people I actually want to work with. And all of that, that tough journey and the switch between copywriting to like, I guess, mentorship and coaching, and who knows what I might do next.
mm, yeah, the tough journey, man. And with tough journeys come very, very powerful lessons. And so, imagine you're in a classroom, just you and your past self from 14 months ago. He's sitting at the front of the class, and you have a piece of chalk and a chalkboard. And you are tasked with teaching the top three hardest lessons that you've learned across the past 14 months to your past self.
Yeah. So first thing I'd do is I'd grab like the chalk and draw the exponential graph. That's the first thing I draw. And I would make the flat part ridiculously long just to highlight that yes, we're all sold on the idea of sexy exponential growth, and we're all sold on this idea that it's gonna be fun and easy, and the part at the start is gonna be this amazing experience. It was not. It was not an amazing experience. It sucked. I hit rock bottom. I didn't even celebrate my birthday. I lost all of my friends. I sacked all of my grades. You know, I didn't even eat some days to save money for X Premium and the real world. Like, it is not easy at all. You will struggle, and you know, be prepared for that. Like, be prepared to be put through mental torment. Your 14-hour game dev days were, they were not placed there for no reason. That is the amount of work you must put in. And, with game dev, that 14 hours of work isn't just all fun, like happy sunshine. 7 of it was like bug fixing. And you're going to be doing a lot of bug fixing on X with your page. And the journey is going to suck. Which brings me to my second lesson, which is, even though most people, I guess, in real life and online suck and they're quote unquote normies in your mind, you still gotta not lose faith, I guess, in human relationships and give up on them completely. Because I feel like being the awkward kid in high school 2 years ago, I went from that to being on calls almost every single day, and people like calling, people telling me how well I could speak in public, and also how how good my storytelling was, and like all of that stuff just really culminated in me growing really fast because I went from basement dweller to social animal in such few times. So I'd tell my 14-month ago self that don't give up on human relationships. Like you will be so unhappy for those 14 months, and it will just make your journey so much worse than it already is. And I guess the third and final lesson, I don't like to give tactics, so because I feel like you'll just naturally pick them up, especially with like game development. But I think the third like tip is just if you play a game, because he was addicted to League of Legends, right? So I would talk to him. Let's say you hopped on League and you played just for the LP or just for the rank or just to win games. You have this needy and desperate mindset, and you don't improve because you're willing to resort to cheese picks to win, and all of that is like fun and all, and it increases your number temporarily, but you never actually get better. And if you want good results, you have to focus on getting better. So instead of playing to win, a much more powerful mindset is just play to perform. You know, be on
Ooh,
X every
yeah.
day to show X what you're capable of. Show Elon Musk how many engagements you can do every day. Show Elon Musk how good your writing is. Show them your sexy 3 bullet points. Show him your giveaway and show everyone else on X what all of your game dev stuff you've been through. Like just show off everything you've done in your life and just make yourself an inspirational figure for everyone else, because I think that's the best way to really stand out. Be the leader, you know.
If everyone, every personal brand, every creator, every entrepreneur just spoke the way you just spoke to your past self with that level of conviction, the world would be a better place. I mean, just like the amount of passion and conviction you had just speaking to a imagined entity of your past self, it's just like wow. Like if every salesperson talked with that level of conviction about a product, or if every entrepreneur that came up with a new offer talked to prospects about their new thing with that level of conviction, then like they'd be the richest man alive. Like that level of conviction is so inspiring. And I think as a personal brand, as a creator, you need that level of conviction. You need to have such delusional belief in yourself, in what you stand for, in what your product is, your writing, everything about you. You just need to have that pride and that conviction and belief in yourself. And that'll take you very, very far. Like I will tell you, that will take you very, very far, especially for any of the listeners. If you just have an unbelievable amount of confidence in yourself and you believe that you're destined to do great things and you're destined to make your first Wi Fi dollar or land your first high ticket client or hit 10K MMR, if you just believe with delusional confidence and speak about it with conviction, not just to other people, but to yourself, like you will get there. And the way that Anthony speaks and the way that you speak to your past self, it's just like that is what the world needs. That's what personal brands need. Just that level of conviction. Absolutely love it, man. Did you struggle initially with showing your face and putting your name out there into the world when you first started?
Yeah, I did. And look, I don't want this to get too heavily, I guess, emotional and all of that stuff, but like I got into a bunch of really unhealthy like views to view the world, and it was mainly down to me not believing my face was attractive enough to be on camera, and also a lot of like I guess this social stuff. Back then it was really difficult for me to show my face on camera because I got picked on in like year 7, 8, and 9, and then I became like a clown at the school and just made fun of myself, and that really like set up a bunch of terrible habits. And I guess showing my face on camera was a way of saying like the comeback arc for me. I was like, screw it, I'm no longer gonna just hide behind. My original profile picture was me hiding my face with a phone, and it was just off my whole body. And I changed that to me at the gym, and then finally changed it to my face. And me posting selfies for a whole month in like early August was just a way of showing that I'm no longer that, I guess, scared of showing my face. And I feel like showing your face gives the world a level of accountability that doesn't normally happen when you don't. Because showing your face and with those progress bar, like almost makes others believe that, oh yeah, he's a rising star, he's gonna take over like everything. And it just comes with this level of responsibility that, if you screw up, you're the only one to blame. And, I was too scared of innovating or like coming up with my own unique selling point because it would allow me to deflect responsibility onto that business model or something else. And, I really needed to burn the boats and not give myself any excuses, because I feel like half the people on X, they quit because they convince themselves in their mind that they can't win. And I've never had like those, I guess, really complicated stage 4 issues that a lot of other people on X really do have. But yeah, it really comes down to, holding yourself accountable, trying to be more confident on camera, and just doing it for yourself, to be honest.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd say so. I also had a similar struggle, but I didn't have as like, a deeply ingrained kind of insecurity. I just like, for me, it felt weird to have my face on the internet because I was just scared that like strangers would like attack me almost, like would judge me for just being a presence online. So like I had that insecurity. So my first account was a faceless James Bond account, and I was just thinking to myself like, I don't want to put my face on the internet. Like my family, none of them are like influencers. None of them have like done that before, and I'm sure like my parents would probably convince me against it. Like putting my face on the internet, don't do it, don't do
Yeah.
it. Oh, and so like that's kind of the limiting belief I had. But then I just peeled off the band-aid. I literally put the profile picture, started taking selfies like you did, hopped on calls with people, and like looking back, it's just the silliest limiting belief. It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just your face. And if you're building a personal brand, your face is what makes it personal, right? That's why, like, whenever I see AI accounts or I see a faceless personal brand, it's like, where's the person behind it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. That it really is like the personal brand is, you really need to put personal in a personal brand, or like, in my case, a personal funnel.
Yeah. So you actually wrote a tweet recently about reviving your brand that I thought was extremely valuable. Could you explain the three main principles that you touched upon, which were momentum, mechanism, and helping out? Why are they
Okay.
important,
Yes. We're
and how
finally
could you
getting
apply them?
Yeah, we're finally getting into the growth guru territory, which, I like it. So yeah, first thing is like my for a whole month, I was like so deeply ingrained into like the mechanism and personal funneling stuff that I forgot the fundamentals. It's sort of like in chess. You wanna try this fancy tactic so much that you forget how to play the game. And it was really like, it wasn't, the post wasn't for other people, it was just for myself. I was like, dude, screw you, you ruined the brand, you're not getting any impressions, not because the alg, it's because your posts absolutely suck. So I was like, yeah, you need to go back to the basics. So momentum is basically like, if you're a physics guy, it would be like mass times velocity or something like that, or whatever, right? But momentum is basically, how I like to think of it, is how much volume you post every day, right? And then multiplied
Mhm.
by how fast your progress is. And
Mm.
the way you talk about, one flows into the other. When you make progress, and let's say you get your first bookmark or even your first like, I know it's kind of pathetic, but the point of these things is not to build your authority, but to evoke an emotion from the audience, right? Being stuck in beginner's hell for 14 months does not give you any more authority, but it inspires your audience. And if you invoke an emotion, people are more likely, to have a stronger connection with your brand than, if you nerded them out with an explanation. So I really shifted my brand more towards, instead of being like, this random nerd who talks about market sophistication, which I still teach, but instead of being that, I became more of like an inspirational like figure, just to show other people, it is possible to do it. And that's what really drives people, right? And momentum is just there, as the foundation of the house, right?
Hmm.
And then next, what's the next point again? Sorry, I forgot.
Mechanism and helping out.
Yeah. So I'll go for the easy one first, helping others out. Now, there's a bunch of people who are like that personally were like my friends were like, why are you giving this much away for free? They'll never buy, your paid product or something like that. And I just like in with all due respect, I completely disagree with that. Because think about this. If people aren't even willing to sign up to your free crap and get helped out by your free stuff, what makes you think they're going to spend money on it? Because the alternative is you sell a product for $500 that you've been working on for 50 hours and nobody buys it. So
Mm.
I was like, screw it. I'm going to help people out. First, get the proof of concept, first, get the experience, and then jack up my prices. And I feel like that's just a way, better way to move towards it. And also helping people out. You don't understand it, but on X, most people are so reluctant to do that that if you just help other people out with your content, and you make free Loom videos for other people, and to be honest, it's way easier than you think it is. You just hit record, like 5 minutes, yap, and then you're done, right? And then you send the video over. If you do that instead of like bombarding people with cold DMs, and just focus on making friends, and then going for the flow, right? You first hop into their DMs, you compliment, you yap a lot, you ask them about how they're going, you ask if you want to help them, send the Loom video over, ask if you want to do a call. After that, they're going to see your content, they're going to see every single giveaway, they're going to see every single auto plug, and then bother converting them. If you go this route, which obviously takes more effort, but if you go the extra mile, it just really sets you apart. And I'm not afraid of like hard work. And even though everyone calls it inefficient, I think it's just laziness, to be honest, why people aren't doing it. Finally is the mechanism. So this one I
Hmm.
actually developed a long time ago in copywriting, but I never actually used it until I saw Benjamin Chan. Because but what he did was basically, instead of going for bigger claims, which in the X market people used to, in 2023, people were just like, oh yeah, I'll get you this, all of this many results using, well, not even using, I'll just get you this many results with X ghostwriting. And people got really sick and tired of it. The way Ben came in was like, yeah, screw it. I don't care about the results. I'm going to teach you how to, story tell. And that got me like really thinking, because that basically made the market more saturated. And then now we have all of these like, every single new unique selling point out there. There's like people doing like fists, there's people like doing golf balls, there's people like doing the X speed runs, there's people doing all sorts of stuff. Like if you take a scroll down the timeline, you can see all about it. But like all of that was like, all of that were new mechanisms. So I was like talking about like how you need your own mechanism as well. But what I forgot to tell, and it probably makes it probably is really important, is that now the market is so saturated with mechanisms. You don't only need a mechanism now. You need a mechanism, and you also need to elaborate on it. What do I mean by that? I will teach you like storytelling that will attract you clients via this specific thing, instead of just saying storytelling. You got to go deeper and explain your mechanism, or you got to niche down a mechanism even further. And I think that is my predictions for the future. X, instead of mechanisms, you'll need to go even, I guess, deeper down a specific mechanism rather than coming up with a unique selling point. And that's what I was like trying to say, but I had 20 words to say it, so I was just like, yeah, I'll tease it, and if people ask about it, I'll go into more detail about it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's crazy how like everything that you need to know about X growth is literally boiled down into like those three words. Those three words break down into a lot of words,
Yeah,
and I think that kind of all boils down into having the right knowledge from the right people and executing upon it as quick as possible. And so
yeah,
the best way that a lot of people like to explain it is just get a fucking mentor, right? Get a mentor and go through, learn from them and learn from their experience. And you had an interesting take on this actually,
yeah.
specifically for beginners,
Mm,
where you said in a recent post, just get a mentor. I disagree. If you're under 50 followers, I've seen beginners stop thinking and throw money until they grow. Truth is, if
yeah.
you're a beginner, engaging, staying in the game, DMing will get you out. You must learn how to problem solve because most of the time, it's the basics that hold you back. Bigger and harder problems will pop up every day, and your mentor can't be there 24/7. So, where do you see the whole mentorship space on X going in the future? And are you planning on riding the wave, or are you going to do something different with your funnels?
Look, I will forever be the person who teaches you how to make a personal funnel. Okay, that's already locked in. I'm doing it for at least 2 or 3 more years, right? I like to see all of these people like, oh yeah, ghostwriting's more profitable, or like I want to do etc. I'm not gonna switch my model because like you will eventually, no matter how saturated the market is, you will eventually make money if you get good enough. And with mentorship, how I sort of saw it in that post was I saw a bunch of beginners who didn't know how to like engage, who didn't know how to write, who didn't know how to like DM people. And I saw them turning to mentors for like the most basic stuff on X, which I personally disagreed with because it's sort of like getting, instead of getting a bowling coach, you just put up the gutter guards in bowling, right? And
Yeah.
you can throw the ball however you want. Like you can literally like I don't know, you can roll it under your legs, right, and then throw it to the side, and you'll still knock over pins if the gutter guards up. And that's the thing with mentorship. Mentorship will literally put up the gutter guards for you if you're new and you will never actually learn how to problem solve. You have outsourced all of your beginner thinking to a mentor. And when you don't have those solid fundamentals built up and you don't know how to think, how to, how brands actually grow and how they get attention and all of that stuff, you will not make it. As soon as you come off the mentor, you're just going to collapse onto the floor. And it's sort of like the gutter guard analogy, right? Once you take down the gutter guards and you've been throwing the wrong way your entire life, you're in for a rude awakening. And that was what I was sort of trying to say in, I guess, that post.
Mm, yeah. At least for me, I technically didn't have a mentor right from the beginning because I had like the faceless account. But whenever
Yeah.
I started my new account and I was like really going all in on just like the whole X growth thing, I did get a mentor basically from the very beginning, and it was pretty successful objectively. And so I guess yeah, that's an interesting mindset to have. The idea that like gutter guards, you don't want to have that kind of safety net, right? You don't want to have them just
Yeah.
like babying you. You want to sometimes go into the gutter. You want to sometimes have that hard experience every now and then because that's the best way to learn. You don't want someone to just like spoon feed you the answers all the time. And so for the beginning, whenever you're learning the principles of gauging, writing, DMing, connecting, yada yada yada, it's probably a lot better to go about it on your own rather than just like stealing all the secrets from someone that already has been through it. Because that's the best way to learn, just by failing and doing.
Yeah.
And I'd love to talk about your goals for the month because I personally, surprisingly, am not a big goal setter. I have long term goals, like very, very long term goals, and I do like affirmations, stuff like that. But I don't set like very short term goals. So I'd love to hear your I guess your thoughts on your own August goals, which were 3 case studies, 500 followers, $250 made, and 10 hours of meditation, which are very interesting goals. So could you go through those?
Yeah. So I'll go through my short term goals and then, I'll give you a long term vision of my brand, which, once again, I do not want this podcast to get too emotional, but let's go anyways. So all of these goals were like really important to me because they were sort of goals my friends set for June and July. And obviously we didn't meet them because we were like doing flipping and then like a bunch of people bailed out on us last second. So my friend got like really crushed and then he was like telling me you should just stop making money and I almost quit. I was like, oh yeah, he might be right. And then he was like, oh yeah, I told you so. So I came back with like these three goals because I really wanted myself to be pushed hard. And you know what? Even if I don't meet them, that's fine. Like, look, it would have because my original goal is like 380 followers. But let's say I get like 400 followers and I don't meet the 500 goal, that's still better than what I like normally get. And with
Right.
the money, the $250 is like just a proof of concept that I can this thing actually works. And right now I'm at 92, so it's like I'm getting there. And with the three case studies, I learned quickly. And even though I didn't have a mentor, I still like intuitively thought out that it'd be the best way to grow. And the 10 hours of meditation is sort of almost like a mental health check.
Mm,
Even though I was still building and wanting to make money, I didn't want my mental health going down the toilet. And I think the hours of meditation you do is sort of like a quantifiable measure of that. And I want it to be different from the 2023 days and early 2024 days where I was sacking everything for it. I don't want the mental like health just to go down the toilet. And I think that's really about it for my
Okay.
short-term goals.
Yeah, for your short term. Tell me about the long term. I mean,
Yeah.
feel free to
Okay.
if it has to get emotional, then it is because I want
Yeah.
this podcast to be as authentic as and real as it needs to be.
Yeah. I think 3 weeks ago in the sun race, I like in a Telegram chat, I was like talking to the people there, and uh I was like talking about how, I sacrificed everything I wanted, or like everything I enjoyed, all of my friends like going out, even a holiday to Japan, just to actually work on my ex and just fully lock in, because I really wanted to make, I made a promise to myself a few months ago that I wouldn't give up, because 25-year-old me would be looking back on 17-year-old me and 18-year-old me and being like, wow, he really put in the work just for me to have this good life. And I really talked about like, this stuff in the sun rays like group chat. And then there were like there was one message that really stuck out to me, and I think it was like, I guess, my new vision, which was, this might be a Telegram chat in, right now, and we might only be able to get on calls, but as we get richer and we make more money, soon this Telegram chat will become an in real life like Brotherhood, where we will be meeting each other up, whether it be in Dubai, whether it be in Singapore, or whether it be in Australia. We will eventually reunite and meet one day. And that really got to me like really hard, even more than escaping the 9 to 5. But being able to meet up with, your tribe members who helped you through your darkest times, and just, I guess, really having going out and eating dinner with them, and being able to afford that without, your boss screaming at you for it, is just way more of a powerful vision I had for the future. And you know that was like what really 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 got me, grinding X and having a renewed mindset towards it. It was just a vision of me and, I guess, my friends on X just reuniting in real life and meeting up was what really was my long-term vision, and it will be for now.
That's such a beautiful long term vision to just not even give a shit about the money. It's not about the money. It never was about the money. I mean, you can set these short term goals, the long term goals, 10K MMR, whatever the heck. But at the end of the day, what really matters, right? Why did you come here? Think back to your purpose, right? For you, Anthony, it was to help people achieve the life that they want by doing mentorship and coaching and just having that connection with people. And the evidence is very clear. You're hopping on like dozens of calls with people for free and just providing an unbelievable amount of value, not just on the calls, but in the DMs and the comments. And that's it, right? The people. That's what really matters. And in that group chat, you're surrounded by the like-minded people, like-minded guys, just like you, that are going through the same struggle, and at its core, nuanced struggle. But yours is just as equally valid as as the brother next to you. And the moments whenever you're kind of in yeah, you're both at rock bottom and going through it together, but then look far into the future and see the light and see the potential that you all have within each other, and then being able to dream of the day that you'll meet up together in real life and just like dap each other up, in Dubai. Imagine. It's just like you can be this deep down in such a tough situation, but still dream big because of those people that you surround yourself with. Yeah, community is everything. I think brotherhood is one of the most powerful forms that we have, and it's such a almost underrated kind of community because everyone thinks that like school is the next big thing. We've got to build niche communities based off of people's interests. But what about just like focusing on the people, right? Instead of trying to build the next big viral community that's growing super fast and making you a ton of money, why don't you build a community of people that actually care about each other, right? A
Yeah.
community where people actually want to meet up in real life. And y'all have that on a free Telegram group chat. Like that's powerful shit.
And that's why I even joined it, because for once I actually had a tribe. Back then, I didn't have a tribe. I didn't have any friends like who wanted to do anything other than, play League all day. Every single one of my in real life friends has given up on business. I am literally the last one standing. And out of my 100, first followers, only 4 of them are still posting to this day. And, I could get crushed and, feel all sad about it, but, that's not what I'm about, because I'm the sort of person who December 27th down in the pits of beginner hell, like down the ninth circle, and I could still be sort of smiling at least, sort of keeping my head up and going, yeah, today sucks, but tomorrow it will be better. And I think that's one of the messages I want everyone to take away. It will get better.
Hmm. Yeah, I think this tweet kind of gives a little insight into kind of what your work ethic looks like and what your kind of mission is. Fuck you, gurus. I just did 18 free game plan calls in the past 2 weeks. That's actually insane, by the way. I didn't pitch anyone. I didn't buy your stupid course about pricing. And I was trash at speaking. So what did I get? Details on what my students were struggling with, confidence, etc., etc. And hell yeah, dude. Like that's it right there. Just hopping on calls with people. You probably like had to like raise them up in the DMs a little bit, but you still hopped on the call and provided an insane amount of value, and you didn't even try to make money off of them. Like you didn't view them as just another Stripe notification. You
Yeah.
actually viewed them as human beings that share the same dream as you and are just a few steps behind you. Like that's inspiring shit. Like that's not something you see very often on Money X, where everyone's just trying to capitalize on anybody and everything that they come across. And I want to read
Yeah.
the DM that you attached. From I'm assuming this is from a person that you hopped on a call with. Yo,
Yeah.
man, I appreciate your time on our call today. It was super informative for how short the call was, especially pointing out the mistakes I've been making. Wasn't expecting too much going into the call, but I was pleasantly surprised. You definitely know what you're talking about. And I mean, come on, 14 months of experience is what gets you those kinds of messages. It's to the point where you just know so much, you've seen so much, you've experienced so much shit and so much up and down. Like you've been in this roller coaster ride for months, the same one over and over again. And then eventually you just get to the point where it's like automatic, right? It's you just know everything that there can be, that possibly can be, and you're basically at this point just taking in inputs from everyone else. You're in that group chat listening to all their thoughts, but at your core, you know everything. Like you know what you're talking about. And that is incredibly valuable because beginners that just get here, they've only been here for like a couple days or a couple weeks. That's nothing compared to 14 months. And
Yeah.
if there's anyone that's like more fit to be a guru or a mentor, it's you, right? And it's crazy that you've had to have such a difficult journey and that some people are monetizing at such a higher scale whenever they don't have nearly the amount of experience and knowledge that you have and like humanity and care for the clients because
Yeah.
we see a lot of the pyramid scheme starting to crumble where coaches just aren't getting results for their clients, and it's really sad to see. So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Look, I firsthand experience what happens when you don't make results for your clients. And that took me into debt. Debt at 16, 17 years old. Debt that me and my friend had to pay off. That was my first experience with what happens when you don't deliver results. And admittedly, it's entirely our fault, like all of that stuff. But that was what really realized, oh crap, I need to actually deliver results, or I will literally get like screwed. My reputation will go down the toilet, right? And every day when I do wake up, I spend at least 30 minutes working on my mentorship resources, and I check up on everyone just to see how they're going, my students, every once in a few days. I would literally go up to you and like, not in a salesy or like weird guru way, but I would walk up to you and be like, how's your day being? And if they're making progress, even if it's like small as like gaining 6 or 7 followers, I'll be like, bro, you're crushing it. You were at 79 followers, now you're at 86. You're doing so well. And that just really keeps people going because that's what I would have wanted. Every single follower I got, I wish I had someone beside me just to tell me like celebrate and talk about how close you're getting to your goals. And I'm just being, again, the pyramid scheme. I was here before it was even established, right? I was here before Audrey Lowe even had an account, which is really surprising now that I thought about it because I had a friend tell me that, oh yeah, you were here before Sean Kennard, Benjamin Chan, Arnie Ho, Audrey Lowe, all of those people even like had an account, right? And I was just like, oh crap, yeah, I was. And I feel like, yeah, even though, they might be doing better than me and they might know better how to sail, I will probably have a way stronger mindset than all of them will ever have. Simply because, I've been put through way more BS than they have. And that's what I really want to, instill in my clients. I want to, IV drip or like use osmosis to give them my mindset. And that is basically, I bring the same energy that I do on this podcast into my own like client coaching course. I try to make jokes, I try to make anecdotes. I try to do all of this stuff, not because, oh yeah, oh, relationship equals more money and all that sort of stuff, but like because I want them to view me as the tribe leader, I want them to view
Mm.
me as someone they could walk up to and just like strike up a conversation, like almost like master to apprentice in like those fancy Japanese dojos atop a mountain, right? I want
Yeah.
them to view me in that sort of way.
Hell yeah. Like that one master that's like meditating for like the entire day and just like not getting distracted at all on
Yeah.
the top of the mountain type shit. Yeah.
And the best part is when people tell me that, they're proud to have me as their mentor. It's like I was with, I'm with this guy and, I'm so proud that I even signed with him. And that is what really, gets me going.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Having someone that's proud to be working with you, that's got to be one of the best feelings in the world. That and like getting, really nice DMs and really nice messages. Yeah. It's up there. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear your reaction to this. Walk me through the emotions one by one that you felt when you got the notification on your phone from your first ever paid client, that Stripe notification. I remember my first dollar. I remember my phone buzzing. It was about 4 p.m. I sat on my stairs checking my ex. Day 400. Time to follow up on my DMs. Buzz. You've just received your first payment through Stripe. Fuck. Walk me through the emotions. Walk me through what you
Yeah.
did. How did you
Bro.
feel?
Yeah. So it's like my dad was like out there cutting logs, in the backyard because we didn't have enough money for like aircon, you see here. So it's like he was cutting logs for like the fireplace, etc. And I was just sitting on like the wooden stairs, like checking my DMs and just responding to, following up the prospect. I thought he wasn't even gonna buy $1, and I was like, boom, like here's $1 USD in your account, and I almost didn't believe it. So I like walked on, and then I, you know, I went onto the laptop. I checked. I was like, "Oh crap, $1! Succeeded the green box, etc." And I was just like, I would go into. I didn't even get emotional. I was more happy than anything. I was like, "Bro, this is like awesome." So I was like running around like the house, jumping up and down the stairs. Felt like a child again for like the first time in like 10 years. Since business. And then our dad picked me and my friend up for the gym, and then we went there. And then I was like telling my friend all about how all my grand plans, and he was like half in and half out, but he was more surprised than not that I actually made money. So that was like a summary of what happened during that day, and we hit the best workout of the year so far that day. So
Hell yeah, dude! Business and gym for life. Like that shit feels. It's like a symbiotic relationship, bro. The harder you go in the gym, the harder you go in business, and vice versa. It's so good, so good. And the way I kind of see it is like I don't lift this heavy anymore, but I run a shit ton, right? So
yeah,
I view my runs as fuel for my business. Like I run these long ass 10-mile plus runs, and it sucks and I hate it. It hurts the entire time. But it's just a mental game, right? After the fifth or sixth mile, it is no longer physical. You don't even feel it in your body. It's basically just numb. It's all a
Yeah.
mental game. Same with the gym. Same with lifting heavy. Same with hitting a really tough workout where you're actually going to failure. You're actually pushing yourself. It's the same thing. It's not about the capabilities of your muscles or your body. It's more of a mental game to keep going because your body has a limit. It has a tank that's a lot more has a lot you have more in the tank than you think you do. And your body just doesn't want to reach that point. And so your brain, you have to wire your brain in a way to see it that way. And whenever you go hard in the gym, when you run really long distance and you put yourself through this suffering, this mental toil, whenever it comes to business, it's like, damn, why am I feeling lazy right now? Like, why can't I put in the grind right now to really put some work into this business and really make something amazing? And I think that's such a powerful relationship, gym and business or activity like exercise with business. Super, super dope that you mentioned that.
Yeah. So I guess it's now, the final closing thoughts of the podcast. So like, what are like your thoughts on everything we talked about, and I guess my journey as a whole? Like, just I guess you can talk about it and yap on for a while.
Yeah, man. I think that your journey, we've hopped on a few calls already,
Yeah.
and I still didn't know a lot about your journey. And just hearing the kind of struggle that you had, not just as like, not just for these 14 months, but before then, right? From game dev to starting your agency and then going through absolute hell sending those cold emails and then starting on X and just seeing those likes not exist on the day after your birthday and sacrificing everything. It's just like, wow. It's just the story and the history is just not something that I expected, but it makes total sense. Like, I came into this podcast wanting to really understand your dedication and why you're still here and what keeps you going and what keeps you showing up every day. And I think I got my answer. And that's just it's awesome. It's awesome to see someone with so much drive and such a difficult journey still show up every day and do this.
Yeah. And look, I don't credit it all to myself. You know, like I try not to be like too prideful and egotistical about it, but yeah, that's really like I guess what happened with everything of my business life. And you know I'm my future plans is to launch, I guess, a lead magnet and giveaway on everything I've learned over the 14 months on X. And that's really what my thing is going to be doing next. I've got a bunch of exams that I'm probably going to sack, but my purpose is over everything, and that is what I want people to get the message, like get out of this podcast. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
um I'm not going to shamelessly plug my offer, but if like if you're interested in what I do and all that stuff, just go onto my X account and just check it out. That's not
Yeah.
going to
And I
fall.
like
This will be the best plug for my program, I think, that you guys will probably see.
um I like to finish off the podcast with a fun question.
Yeah.
All right. Imagine you become king of the world tomorrow. You have unlimited money, unlimited power, unlimited status. What is the first thing that you'd spend your money on, and what would be the first law you'd pass that the entire world had to follow?
Okay, so what I spend my money first on is I just pay like a person to learn from. I'd pay someone $1 million, like a mentor $1 million, just to live in my house and just hold me accountable and drag me out of bed and like bring me to X, like and force me to, like work, and then afterwards we'd go and celebrate and eat the most expensive steaks out there. That's what I think I'd do if I had unlimited money. And the first law I would pass is really just I feel like it's just taking out all the scammers and bots of X, because I feel like half the reason why X has such a bad reputation and all of that stuff, and everyone's a scammer, etc., and people are so reluctant to buy and learn from each other, is literally because there are some very unethical people who take advantage of really honest, hardworking people. And I'm not going to blame the gurus and be this weird guy. It's like, oh no, 14 months is all because of the gurus. But I really do think it did play a part in why I was growing so slowly.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
first law would be to get a satellite and annihilate every single guru and scammer out of existence.
Wow. What a bold answer, but I love it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the most, and I mean it, the most dedicated creator and personal funneler on X, Anthony Wu. This was such a dope, powerful, inspiring, emotional, everything episode. And I always love talking to you, brother. It's been great to have you on.